Yeah, hi there. These comments are for 6295 or GH, and you're one of my English 106 students here at California State University, San Bernardino. I just read your essay, so I think overall you made it into the B category barely. So you got 80 points out of 100, which is a B minus. And the biggest area of improvement, I think it's more or less how you frame the paper. And what I was more interested in was specifically your specific writing process. What is your process? How is it different from how Marius outlines a writing process in his book? And for some reason you were a little bit reluctant to deal with that particular topic. Remember that we're not judging what your writing process is. We're just interested to know what it is and how it is similar or different from what Marius discusses in his article. So, when we look at your thesis, you say here, personally, I don't write my essays in the way he explained an essay should be written. So then the question is, well, how do you write it exactly? What is your process? You want to make sure you elaborate on that. Then right after that, you say Richard Marius and others have different ways in which they write their essays. There are also some similarities they have. Still, you're not saying exactly what these similarities or what these differences are. But then you get a little more specific. You say one of the similarities writers and Marius have is that most of the time they write more than one draft to get their essay the way they want it to be. One of the main differences between Marius' writing process and others is that in every draft Marius focuses on a certain part of the essay, doesn't pay attention to anything else. Then you have the final difference. So if you'd framed it as what your differences are and not just writers in general, you would have better addressed the assignment for this task. Because if you look at the syllabus here, let me read it here so you make sure you know the purpose. It says right here, it says your assignment is to write a short comparison and or contrast between your writing processes and those proposed by Marius. So specifically, that's your purpose. It's not to just talk about writers in general and what their writing processes are and then how those processes are similar to Marius. That's not the assignment. The assignment is looking at your specific writing process and then showing how it is similar or different to what Marius outlines in his article. Now there were some times in the essay you did mention your process. You did say in the second paragraph, when I wrote my essays for English class, so specifically which essay would you like to refer to? So if you say when I wrote my book review in my English 105 class, when I was working on my analytical research paper in English 102B, so you have to be more specific. That's really the biggest issue that's maybe bogging down your writing, is to think of writing on three levels. You have your main idea, you have your support idea, and then you have your detail information. This is where you're not getting specific enough. I'll give you another example. On another page, page 2, you talk about the main difference between that of Marius and others is we don't always focus on just one point of the essay. So in this case, you put we, which means you, as part of these other writers. So is this one and the same? So I was just curious, so why didn't you just directly say that instead of saying it how you said it? What if you just said this? One of the main differences between Marius's process and mine is that I don't always focus on one point of the essay. I mean, why can't we say that? And then you can spend half of the paragraph talking about Marius's ideas toward this point, and the rest of the paragraph you talk about your process as it relates to the point. So you say in the middle here, it would make our essays better if we did do radical changes in every draft. However, not many people focus on just one point in every draft. So again, you can't just talk about things generally. You have to be specific. So again, you should have used a specific example from a writing assignment to help illustrate your idea. What happens if you do that? That gives your writing more depth. and more complexity of thought, and it helps the reader understand more about your writing process, which is actually the purpose of this writing assignment. So that's probably the biggest issue with the paper. So overall, though, it wasn't like you were really bad in any area, but you lost the most points where it says, if you look at the rubrics, it says develops ideas in depth with strong and appropriate examples, data, and experiences. You are lacking the personal experience examples to help explain your process. That's the biggest issue with the writing that you submitted. Alright, so what can you do here? What can be learned from this paper? I think what you can do is, when you get into this second writing assignment, and you get into that second part of the, actually the third part of the assignment, where it says, let me read it for you here. It says, choose a fad or style that your close friends adopted and see how closely Durst's theory explains your experience. So when you get to that idea, you have to be very, very specific. So some things that you can do to help make the depth of your writing a little bit more complex is when you talk about the theory or the actual fad or trend that you adopted, you can explain it in a lot of detail. You can describe it first of all, but then you can even talk about when you started to follow this fad. Even if you recreated a specific day of the first time that you wore a certain pair of clothes or used a purse or earrings or something along those lines, if you can explain that first day, you can explain who you're with, you can explain what it looked like, the physical environment that surrounded you, the more detailed you are, your score is going to go up. Because to get to the really telling detail is a challenge, but if you can do that, it really helps you communicate your ideas more effectively. Alright, so anyway, thank you very much for doing the assignment. So again, your grade here is 80% out of 100. You had 32 points out of 40 on the rubrics.